Welcome back to Stu Studio, conservative takes on music. This week, we will be comparing two albums released recently by two big female pop artists, Gracie Abrams and Charli XCX. I do understand that Gracie Abrams is more of a singer-songwriter and Charli XCX strives to make club music, but they are both at similar places in the charts and in the world of pop music, and they are both taking their recent rise to stardom and running in very different directions. Starting with Gracie Abrams' Daughter from Hell that she released on July 17th, I was very excited to see that Gracie actually had a number one album released because I had heard her before. I'd heard a lot of her music just come up on my algorithm. Usually when a Taylor Swift album ends, it plays something like Gracie. So I had heard and enjoyed songs off of Good Riddance, songs like Where Do We Go Now, I'm sure some others, and I did really begin to appreciate her singer-songwriter approach to pop music. She does kind of sing in cursive like a lot of modern worship leaders, but it does not sound forced. After hearing her sing live, it seems like it's genuine and that's actually her voice. But this album is extremely wordy. It seems like she's trying to fit all the lyrics she can, all the little references to her life story within the 2 to 4 minutes of the song. Like, the lyrics fill up so much space that there's not really room for exciting instrumentation. There aren't many real grooves or beats throughout the album. Most songs are either driving the entire time or droning the entire time. There's not a whole lot of dynamic movement. It has 17 songs, but honestly, it doesn't feel like it's too long. It just feels like it doesn't move. The album doesn't even really pick up or establish a beat until track number 5, Look at My Life. And this is the song that she has put out a video for, but also the video is really boring. She's walking around a city dressed in weird outfits and trying to be quirky for quirky's sake. Like, her dad is one of the most successful directors ever. Couldn't she figure something else out that's a little more interesting or has some story? She doesn't even need his help. She's grown up in his influence. The song Imaginary Friend isn't very exciting, but it does have the exact same melody as Jonas Brothers' Year 3000 in the verses. It's just way slower. It might be the most melodic song on the album. It's just not exciting. The song Minibar is probably my favorite song on the album, but it is so short. It clocks in at 2 minutes flat. I don't think there's even a bridge, but maybe that'll make me listen to it over and over again. The song called What If It's Right is a great song. It's the same guitar riff over and over, and for most of it, for the entire verses, the melody of the vocals matches the guitars exactly. So it's repeating and it's monotonous, but with the choruses, somehow it has the most movement probably of any song on this album. With a title like Daughter from Hell, you would expect this to be a rebellious anthem album, just full of look at me, I'm a badass. My parents must hate me for how crazy I am. But the album is actually a somber self-reflection of the mistakes that she's making going through life. It seems like she doesn't like the person she could become, and she's taking ownership of that. And that's something that we can all relate to. Like, my parents must hate me, I'm such a fuck up. And she has talked about being perceived as a Nepo baby or being an actual Nepo baby. She says that it's nice to have the safety net of her dad, J.J. Abrams, and knowing that she's probably never ever gonna be broke, so she can really pursue her dreams without any fear. And that also means that she's not accountable to anyone else but herself. If she succeeds doing it her way, and if she fails, she's gonna be fine. Gracie says growing up as J.J. Abrams' daughter was more about being around elite people than having a lot of money. Like, she's always been to parties around people with great and expensive taste, and so she developed that same taste and won't settle for cheap substitutes. This is a good album. I still really like Gracie Abrams. I just wish that it had more dynamics, more ups and downs, more motion within each song, because for the most part, it's either a driving kick or just a slow build to nothing. It kind of feels like Taylor Swift's All Too Well 13-minute version over and over, cramming it with references that are so private no one can really relate to them. But on some level, I also appreciate that kind of explicitity. I feel that comes more from the heart than convoluted metaphors. And next is Charli XCX's Music Fashion Film. This album is just about the polar opposite of Gracie Abrams, while still being a female pop album in 2026. First, I love the cover of this album. I don't know if they actually got all these people in a room together, but it's got musician John Cale of Velvet Underground, designer Marc Jacobs, and director Martin Scorsese. I really hope they got all these people in a room. That would just be such a fun day. Like, that would be a life experience where you don't say a single word, you just take it all in and listen to everyone else talk. But this is Charli XCX's first studio album since Brat, if we're not counting Wuthering Heights, because that was definitely just a soundtrack. And 2 years ago, we had Brat Summer. It was pushed hard as the album of the summer. You saw the lime green with black text everywhere. I'm not going to say I liked the album very much, because I did not. And Charli even said that she was planning on just stepping away from music, not making anything for a while, but she was just hit with a wave of inspiration. So it starts off with a song called Rock Music that kind of sets the vibe for the rest of the album. It has really heavy, crunchy distortion on the guitars, but it still has very obviously auto-tuned vocals. She talks about how she's a partier, how she and all of her friends are partiers, and now they just want to make rock and roll music together. And that vibe and that instrumentation carries on throughout the rest of the album. The song SS26, standing for Spring Summer of 26, is where the name of this album comes from, Music Fashion Film. She talks about how she and all of her friends are making terrible decisions. They're on a highway to hell, and nothing's going to save them, not music, fashion, film. And for some reason, on Apple Music, the lyrics to this song have Korean lyrics right under the English ones. She's not the only pop artist to do that. I just think that it's really weird. Card Decline, this song is just terrible. It's all about buying things to make yourself happy. Like, how happy are we going to be with a new handbag? Like, let's get some jewelry. She even goes a little bit into the obscure, saying let's buy a personality, let's buy a backstory. Money can make us interesting people, but Card Declined. Because obviously money cannot make you an interesting person. The metaphor is a little bit blatant, but overall it just doesn't sound good. Until the last 30 seconds of the song, I think this whole song would have been a lot better if it was like the last 30 seconds instead of the first 2 minutes. It breaks into a kind of soulful classic rock song, and that would have felt way better. I wish she would write more music like that, like the last 30 seconds of this one song. Now, the most boring, repetitive song on this album might actually be the best. It is called Yeah. The entire song is just saying, I don't wanna, I don't wanna, I don't wanna, until she says, wait, I think I wanna feel it, and then the chorus drops with, yeah. It is mostly synths pumping, and that's definitely what the song is driving toward, is just the chorus dropping and her saying, yeah, and you might. But for some reason, this is the song that I can most picture people dancing to in a club. The song Wink Wink also has Korean subtitles for some reason, and the verses are really a spoken word about how she is edgy for edginess sake. And somehow the chorus is actually really good with a single note melody. But this song really seems like it's a reality check with her fans, saying like, hey, you're in on the joke, right? Like, she's not bad anymore. She doesn't act out anymore. She just acts like she is acting out outrageously, but it's all part of the persona of Charli. Like, she says, maybe I fucked your dad. Just kidding. I'm only saying that for the effect. And the next song, Persona, seems to admit that implicitly. She's talking about being fake with a guy who is also being fake, but they both know it, which sets up kind of an interesting vibe for the song. But the last song, No One Lasts Forever, featuring David Cronenberg, closes the album on a very obscure note. She crams as many words as she can into this song, into the lyrics, saying it is easier to have fun when you're famous. Parties are better, drugs are better, why not just enjoy it while it lasts? And it actually does feature David Cronenberg at the end of the song. He does a spoken word that sounds like it's from an interview, saying how he makes art for himself, not for some idea of immortality. He knows some artists make art so that they can live forever, so that their ideas can live on, that their expression can be everlasting, but they all still die. And it ends droning on with probably a full minute of him saying, they are dead, they are gone, no one lasts forever. They are dead, they are gone, no one lasts forever. And then it abruptly ends in the middle of a word. But overall, this whole album relies heavily on EDM and house beat feels, but the instrumentation does not align with that or fit at all. It's like they're trying to fit distorted guitars into the sound of a genre without the rest of the genre actually being present on the album. My thought is that this album is going to rely rely heavily on remixes, and she might even put out a whole remixed version herself. But the album versions are definitely not the ones that I think are going to be pumping through clubs. Because when it comes down to it, Charli admittedly makes club music. That's why the lyrics are so repetitive. That's why it relies so heavily on the synths and the beats. But this album doesn't have the synths or the beats, so maybe that's going to come later. But what I think is interesting is the contrast in direction between Gracie and Charli. Because Gracie seems to be making music that's more authentic. She seems to be spilling more and more of herself onto her canvas, while Charli is just making club music that she describes in the album as money grabs. She admits to being fake, and the songs aren't even good yet, and that she's bad, but it's all part of the act. While Gracie is saying, I've been bad, I've done some terrible things, and my parents must hate me for it. And Gracie's album did chart at #1, and Charli's hasn't had any songs on the top 10 Spotify yet. It hasn't been a full week, so we don't know where the album is going to chart, but it doesn't look like it's in the running at all. And I think that's a testament to putting out authentic music. I'll always like singer-songwriter more than I like EDM and house. But even deeper than that, I think that it's better to put out music that says, I am holding myself accountable, than it is to put out music that says, I'm pretending to be bad for the money. And in a couple days, we'll see where they compare. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Stu Studio. And remember, Jesus loves you.